The following program is intended to educate and inform. We discuss cannabis being used as medicine, the culture, science, and controversy of cannabis and cannabis laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity. Moth Networks and their associates do not claim to be lawyers or doctors, nor do they represent themselves as such. All their comments and views are of their own personal opinion and personal experiences. Opinions and claims made by the guests and advertisers on Moth Networks are their own, and all parties agree to the Moth Network use and policy agreement. Moth Network and Moth Network associates cannot be held legally responsible for the statements of the host or of their guests. We encourage all listeners to learn their constitution, to assert their rights, acknowledge their duties, and know their individual state laws.
You are now tuned in to 710 Radio. We are the newest and hottest independent radio station in Colorado and on the internet. The fans named the station. With over 1 million visitors and over 10 million hits. Oh yeah, our website is going bananas. We are the newest and the hottest. This is 710 Radio. 24/7 radio. Stay tuned and tell a friend. The Dabber's Choice. With hot shows 7 days a week.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now my whole team fucking here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now
LMW Agency. That's LMW Agency. It's the home of One Blunt Radio. It's the home of 710 Radio. It's the home of Cannabis University and Cannabis Museum. Yes, you can contact us at lmwagency1@gmail.com. It's the home of Olympic Newts. Yes, it's the home of Moth229.com. Moth, medicine of the herb. You can find Olympic Newts right now in stores like HTG Supply, like Grow Depot, like the Speak Easy Vape Lounge in Colorado Springs, heading to Humboldt County. LMW Agency, the home of Blunt TV, cable TV, coming soon.
What's up, 710 Radio listeners? This is Rick Wayne right here again, and you know what? Don't just get home security, put it into action. With over 140 years of innovation, why settle for less? Get started with the #1 name in security, ADT. Global Technology is ADT's fastest growing authorized dealer in Colorado. They are paving the way with the state-of-the-art interactive solutions, ADT Pulse. Arm and disarm your system from almost anywhere in the world. Receive emails, text alerts, video monitoring, and much, much more. First 50 listeners receive free equipment, installation, and wiring. Contact your professional security consultant, Alex Skinner, at 720-255-1448 or email him at adt.denver.colorado@gmail.com and let them know 710 Radio sent you.
Thursday, 20, my grandma, me, on a second,
shit. Hello?
What's happening, bro? Happy 420, man.
Happy 420. You got some weed?
Yeah, you know I got some weed, man.
I'm at home. You wanna come over?
Yep, I'm on my way, my nigga. I'm on my way.
Come right now. Hurry up right now. I'm trying to get high right now.
All right.
High. Oh. God damn it. I'm burning this shit up. What the fuck?
Kevin Pistol. Or if it's Wednesday, I'm on my way to Platte Valley. Gotta hit the wax room, get some of that wax, man. Why? 'Cause I dab. I like that ear wax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. Dab. A little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you. I'm from the Mile High City. We all about elevation. We earned our reputation, best indica in the nation. Have you seeking ventilation, choking and coughing up a lung? Bell already been rung and we just barely begun. We blowing sour diesel, cushion, Cindy 99. Too many strains to name, 150 different kinds. You say you a heavyweight, but I can kill that fast. Take you to Platte Valley, get you that earwax hash. Be ravenously hungry, box of cereal going to sleep. 2 in the afternoon and homie ain't made a peep. He over there counting sheep like a shepherd. Welcome to Colorado, we capital for the record. Classic catching man and Decker, half record, blue dreamer, and a real Jack Flasher. Then you get to graduate to earwax hasher. A blue dreamer and a real Jack Flasher. Then you get to graduate to earwax hasher. I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab. You can dab it, pack a bowl, or roll a blunt. It's gonna work for you, fuck it, homie, go for what you want. Peter Piper puffed a pound of Platte Valley, then left town confused, thinking where was that Cali? Nah, it was Colorado where the buzz do it big. We trim and clip and then we put a buzz to your wig. 420 ways to have you walking through the sky. John never tried to tell you about that Rocky Mountain High. Colorado, big buzz like a bag of avocado. Puff past the model, don't pass the bottle, pass the blunt. Yeah, now that's what I want. She was asking what's that, I said that's that hash. Come on, baby, I'm about to wax that ass. Wax on, wax off like it's karate. Y'all weed, Danielson, I weed me, I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab. I like that earwax hash. I like that earwax hash. I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. Dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. Wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab. I like that earwax hash. A little dab will do you, blow your wig back fast. I dab. Shatter, just a little dab will do you. The wax room Wednesday, thank you, hallelujah. I dab.
To all the people voting, bowls and blunts smoking, vaporizer bags and water pipes got you choking. Let me see the kind of Mary Jane that you're token. Advertise the fact that your sack is out the poking. All the babies growing, rain, shine or snowing. 1,000 watts, super metal, halide glowing. Got the heady toss from a steady set of growing. Harvested my crops, ready, set, let's stone it. Cause I'm medicated, I'm talking Wild West weed. The Green is the best in Mile High. Cause I'm medicated, all the greenest of the greens. Got a pocket full of nuggets, they my own home team. Cause I'm medicated, I got a pound in my sack. My whole family ain't my medication. That's a bag full of the perks. At least a cutie and a half of nothing but the OG dirbs. And if you don't have some of that, well then you better put in work. Cause I need a flock of bats and some Shiskaberry birds. I'm a minister of Moja in the marijuana church. And my pot is the most potent. If you cough, it's gonna hurt. To compete is just a token. Cause they say that Medi's first. Cause I got more heady grass than the PGA's got turf. Cause I'm medicated. I'm talking Wild West weed. The Grenada is the best in Mile High. Cause I'm medicated. All the greatest of the greens. Got a pocket full of nuggets in my own home team. Cause I'm medicated. I got a pound in my sack. My whole family is legal. What you think about that? Cause I'm medicated. The cops better cut me slack. They can take my weed from me, but I'll always get it back. I'm the freshest of the crew, cause I got the freshest weed. And the freshest is the bestest, irregardless of the need. If you feel the need to test us, well, we're filled with THC. That's because the Lord has blessed us with an herb-producing seed. So to hell with all your crack, heroin, amphetamines. You can keep your psycho drugs, your benzodiazepines. So I'm keeping all my thugs medicated on the greens. Mary Jane is who I love, and I know that she loves me. Cause I'm medicated. I'm talking Wild West weed. The Grenada is the best in Mile High. Cause I'm medicated. All the greatest of the greens. Got a pocket full of nuggets in my own home team. Cause I'm medicated. I got a pound in my sack. My whole family is legal. What you think about that? Cause I'm medicated. The cops better cut me slack. They can take my weed from me, but I'll always get it back. Pay attention right here to my AK-47. We be growing that all day. Got you high as heaven, so the only thing you're gonna say is where the nearest 7-Eleven. Do they do it my way? I'ma roll another one when I get done with this, Jay. We gon' smoke a ton of fun like Goodyear's on the highway. Choking in a funnel, one like tunnel in a funnel cake. If they think I've come and done, well, you can tell them I say I'm medicated. I'm talking Wild West weed. The Grenada is the best in Mile High. Cause I'm medicated. All the greatest of the greens. Got a pocket full of nuggets in my own home team. Cause I'm medicated. I got a pound in my sack. My whole family is legal. What you think about that? Cause I'm medicated. The cops better cut me slack. They can take my weed from me, but I'll always get it back. All the people voting, bowls and blunts smoking, vaporizer bags and water pipes got you choking. Let me see the kind of Mary Jane that you're token. Advertise the fact that your sack is alcohol poking. That's right. Cause I'm medicated. To all the people voting, bowls and blunts smoking, vaporizer bags and water.
Good evening, everybody. 710 Radio Moth 22.9 Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Rick Wainwright. I hope you all have a great day, a good night, and I hope you had a safe St. Patrick weekend. It was a long one, that's for sure. But hey, you know, here in Colorado, the green life is good. You know, legalization is well on its way, and you know, a lot of great things are happening here in Colorado, and you know what? You guys could be having it too. You know, we've been laying the groundwork for you guys to get it done in your state. And hopefully with all the shows that have been going on and all the information that's been going out there, you guys have been arming yourself with some knowledge out there about legalization and getting it done in your state. But, you know what? Here in Colorado, we got a lot of things happening, you know, even though it is legalized here in Colorado, you know, there is still a lot of things that need to happen to continue to happen the way that it is going. You know, legalization is happening, guys. Whether we like it or not, whether you like it or not, I love it. You're not going to hear any bitches from me about the legalization of marijuana, because for one, anybody that's been listening to my show knows that I believe that it should have never been made illegal in the first place. But, you know, It's a lot of fight, a lot of casualties. You know, legalization is happening. And, you know, God, I got a lot of stories for you guys tonight. I hope I can get through them all. But as I had stated, I don't know, I might have said something about it last week about senators introducing a historic bill to allow medical marijuana, and I'm getting this off of time.com. Excuse me. The author is Katie Steinmetz, and says a bipartisan group of 3 senators will introduce a bill that could end the federal ban on medical marijuana. This plan is sponsored by Republican Senator Rand Paul, Democratic Senators Cory Booker, and Kristen Gillibrand. Would allow patients, doctors, and businesses in states that have already passed medical marijuana laws to participate in those programs without fear of federal prosecution. Woohoo! Hey, let me tell you guys, if that happens, okay, you know, the only thing I don't like about it, about this story and the senators, what they're going for is, I don't feel like they're going far enough. For one, you know, remove it from this list of scheduled drugs. I mean, altogether. If anything, put it in number 3, 4, or 5. Just take it off. I mean, the evidence, the studies now that are going to be coming out, that are coming out, that have come out, are going to really, are really going to make them readdress the Schedule 2. So, you know, I understand that baby steps are, you know, are better than no steps at all, but, you know, come on, let's think just a little bit harder, okay? But, I mean, I give them props for taking this step, because, you know, if it does pass, that means, you know, all the intercontinental 50, I'm sorry if I'm going to get this wrong, I hope not, 52 states will, well, or 48, I'm sorry, here in the continental U.S., but, you know, all 52 states would be legalized. Now, I know what it said in states that are already legalized, but let me tell you, a lot of the states are not legalizing because of what the federal government stance is on marijuana. So if they do change their tone on the Schedule 1 drug, and that will open the door for those states to go ahead, because they won't be able to use that excuse anymore. Oh, well, it's illegal against federal law. Okay, so that'll be a moot argument from that point on, once that happens. You know, now Rand Paul, I like Rand Paul. I know a lot of people may not, but I do. I like his dad, Ron Paul. You know, the Pauls have been fighting for legalization of marijuana for many, 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 many years now. Well, of course, Ron Paul much longer than his son, Rand Paul, but, you know, I was happy to see Rand Paul take the same stance as his dad, which he did not have to do. It is nice. You know, we are getting these old hardliners out of those seats in D.C., which has been a big part of our problem. But, you know, I mean, we are getting these, more conservative, I hope that's the word that I was looking for, heads in there. And, you know, people are seeing that marijuana definitely does have medical benefits and values. So one of the stories that I have for you tonight, it has been out maybe about a year, I'm going to say. This is a PhD doctor, and he is one of the outspoken doctors on medical marijuana. You know, and I mean, he's been doing this for years and years and years and years. And so the first story is going to go on medical cannabis and its impact on human life. Okay, so once it gets done, you know, guys, I will be back. But until then, I hope you enjoy this guy, and we will talk to you soon. Hold on.
It's truly amazing the number of conditions that respond favorably to cannabis.
We're looking at an unexcelled wonder plant, herbal medicine that has no comparison.
It would appear that cannabis and hemp are one of the first plants that have been grown in agriculture. We came out of being hunters and gatherers about 10,000 years ago, and so that's at least the length of time that cannabis has been cultivated. Cannabis has long been known as a medicinal plant, as a medicinal product. The latest studies, or the latest findings, are a tomb in China in which the contents of the medicine bag of a medicine man were discovered, and one of the things that it contained was cannabis.
The tomb was carbon dated as almost 5,000 years old.
The conventional wisdom, which goes to the oral history of China, is that the Emperor Shang wrote the first Chinese Materia Medica, and that it contained cannabis. He is alleged to have written it in 2637 BC, which would be almost 5,000 years ago. The oldest known copy of that goes back to somewhere between 100 BC and 100 AD. The oldest actual written record of the use of cannabis as a medicine is found in the writings of the Indian, as in India, Ayurvedic medicine, in which that a piece of history is dated at somewhere between 1100 and 1700 BC. Cannabis is found in every major Materia Medica that has ever been written. That includes the Ebers Papyrus from Egypt. It includes the writing of Dioscorides, who was Nero's doctor. And his Materia Medica was used for over 1,000 years, and it was included in the United States Pharmacopoeia from 1854 until 1941.
Marijuana has been a medicine for a lot longer than it hasn't been a medicine. Evidence suggests that it was used in northern China for either shamanistic purposes, religion, or healing. And the culture of cannabis as medicine moved across the world. India was very big in the use of marijuana, and it was from India that W.B. O'Shaughnessy, who worked for the British East Indies Company, picked up cannabis and brought it to the United Kingdom, where apparently it was Queen Victoria's favorite treatment for her menstrual cramps. Ultimately, it came to the U.S., and in the early part of the 20th century, most of the major drug companies in this country were actually producing cannabis medicines.
Up until the beginning of the 20th century, cannabis was probably the second or third most commonly used medicine in the world. Cannabis was found in patent medicines that were manufactured by such familiar names as Eli Lilly, Squibb, Merck, Parke-Davis, Smith Brothers, the Smith Brothers cough drops. And it was available powdered, chopped, whole, and as tinctures.
It was only in 1937 when Congress enacted the Marijuana Tax Act that imposed a levy of $1 an ounce for the use of medical marijuana that was the beginning of the end for marijuana as a medicine in the United States. It was in 1942 that it was totally removed from the U.S. pharmacopoeia, or the formulary, but up until 1942, physicians could still write prescriptions for cannabis. So, marijuana hasn't been a medicine for 68 years in this country, but it has been a medicine in the world for 3,000 years.
There was the misconception that use of marijuana led to debauchery and physical violence. And for that reason, I guess the investigator, I guess we were probably more conservative than we are now. That's hard to believe. So it was considered the way alcohol was considered back in the time of Prohibition. And so it was prohibited, all uses of marijuana, because it had been used medicinally as well as for recreationally. So all uses were declared illegal, and marijuana then was given the status of a Schedule I substance, which means a substance without any recognized, any demonstrable therapeutic effects, as opposed to cocaine, which was also declared illegal for recreational use, but it still had medicinal properties as a local anesthetic, for which it is used today, to this day. That's Schedule II.
When the Marijuana Tax Act was passed in 1937, immediately Fiorello LaGuardia, who was the mayor of New York, established an august body of scientists to investigate whether the claims that marijuana use was going to increase mental illness and crime in the United States were valid. And the LaGuardia Commission report was issued in 1942, and they concluded that marijuana was a good medicine, and that the claims that its use would increase crime and mental illness were unsubstantiated.
Prohibition cannot be enforced for the simple reason that the majority of American people do not want it enforced and are resisting its enforcement. That being so, the orderly thing to do under our form of government is to abolish a law which cannot be enforced, a law which the people of the country do not want enforced.
That sentiment was repeated in 1972 when the Nixon Marijuana Commission wrote their report. This was in the face of the admonition by President Nixon that they not recommend the legalization of cannabis for recreational use.
There is a commission that is supposed to make recommendations to me about this subject.
The recommendation of the commission in its first report is that we do not feel that private use or private possession in one's own home should have the stigma of criminalization, that people who experiment should not be criminalized for that particular behavior.
Every 10 years or so, our government has sponsored another look into marijuana as medicine. The last one actually now being 1999, when the Institute of Medicine did it. And every 10 years, these august bodies come up with the same conclusion, that there's medicinal value to marijuana, and its adverse effects and addictive potential and gateway drugness are overstated. And for some reason, every 10 years, these reports go, I don't know if they're ignored, but they certainly don't seem to change policy.
In 1974, a fellow with glaucoma who was going blind named Robert Randall was arrested for possession of marijuana. He had found that using the marijuana had diminished the symptoms that he was having, and it was later found by both Johns Hopkins and the Jules Stein Eye Institute at UCLA that this was the only thing that would preserve his eyesight. And the federal government then agreed to provide Mr. Randall with marijuana for medical purposes. He had made an agreement, or the government thought he had made an agreement, not to tell anybody about this. Well, as soon as it happened, he told as many people as he could and began to spread the word, and people began to apply for this program, which was called the IND program. At one time, there were as many as 15 Americans who were receiving 300 hand-rolled marijuana cigarettes a month from the federal government. And there were another 35 people who were approved for the program. In 1989, the first Bush administration decided that they needed to review this. They were concerned that too many people were applying for the program, and if too many people got on it, the public might get the, quote, wrong idea that marijuana actually had some medical value, which of course it actually does have some medical value. Just prior to that time, in 1988, the chief administrative law judge of the Food and Drug Administration issued a ruling recommending that marijuana be rescheduled from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. In his ruling, he found that marijuana was one of the safest therapeutic agents known to man, and he stated that it was safer than eating 10 potatoes. So I've always been very careful about the number of potatoes I've eaten since then.
Marijuana was widely used in the 19th century for the treatment of asthma. And in the 1970s, we found that marijuana has a bronchodilator effect. It's because of the THC in marijuana. First of all, let's compare and contrast marijuana with the other, even more widely smoked substance in our society, tobacco. The tobacco was used more widely than any other smoked substance, and marijuana is second only to tobacco.
Lucy?
Yes, dear?
Give me a cigarette, will you, hon?
Don't say cigarettes, say Philip Morris.
Oh? Is there any other kind?
Not for you, there isn't. Nothing but the best for Mr. Ricardo.
Thank you. Lucy, you're so good to me.
You see how easy it is to keep a man happy? Why not give your husband a carton of Philip Morris cigarettes?
Smart move. He'll love them for their mildness, their smoothness, and their wonderful good taste. And he'll love you, too, for thinking of him.
That's right. Good night, everybody. And don't forget, call for Philip Morris.
We know that if you analyze the contents of tobacco and marijuana, they're quite similar. The major difference is that tobacco contains nicotine, not found in marijuana, and marijuana contains THC and about 60 other THC-like substances called cannabinoids, not found in tobacco. But there are a lot of other particulates that are shared in common, and these include carcinogens, such as benzpyrene, the most potent of the carcinogens and considered to be responsible for a large percentage of human cancers. Benzpyrene is found in 50% higher concentration in marijuana smoke than in the smoke from a comparable quantity of tobacco. And this has been shown by 3 separate groups of chemical investigators. So the expectation is that if you smoke marijuana enough and on a regular basis, that you would incur similar risks to smoking tobacco. So what are the major health risks for tobacco? Emphysema, which I prefer to call chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's the new term. It consists of chronic bronchitis and emphysema. But you could have significant impairment in lung function without emphysema. It could just be due to airways disease. we call small airways disease. But because we can't separate out the two components of COPD, emphysema, and the airways component, we lumped them together. So that's COPD. So now COPD is the fourth leading cause of death in the U.S. and in the world, and will become the third leading cause in 2020. So it's a very important disease. About 120,000 Americans die each year from COPD. Probably the best evidence for separating out, the best method for separating out a COPD patient from someone else is to look at the rate of decline in lung function. I shouldn't say the best. It's probably the most informative. But it's more difficult to do because you have to make measurements every year for a number of years. And so you get a slope of the rate of loss of lung function over time. We did that. We actually measured lung function every year in our marijuana smokers up to 8 years. And we found that the slope of the decline in lung function was almost identical in the marijuana-only smokers compared to the non-smokers, where it was accelerated in the tobacco smokers. So just one other piece of evidence that marijuana is not a risk factor for the development of COPD. I think I'm convinced of that. And the other major health consequence, pulmonary health consequence of tobacco, is lung cancer. Cancer is the second most common cause of death in the U.S., and lung cancer is the most common form of cancer. And the major risk factor for lung cancer is tobacco smoking. About 160,000 Americans die each year of lung cancer. So the question that came to my mind and that of my colleagues was whether or not there was any evidence that marijuana would at least qualitatively share some of these health risks with those of tobacco. And that was the rationale for initiating our studies back in the 1980s. What is the evidence that marijuana smoking, habitual marijuana smoking, can lead to lung cancer? With respect to the development of lung cancer, we found no evidence of any increased risk of lung cancer occurrence in association with marijuana smoking alone. The marijuana smokers, if anything, had a reduced risk for developing lung cancer. Not a significantly reduced risk, but reduced less than one-fold. So that means reduced. Whereas the tobacco smokers had a markedly increased risk. If those who smoke more than 2 packs a day had a 20-fold increase in the risk. That's 2,000%. Those who smoke from 1 to 2 packs a day had an 8-fold risk. It's 800%. So that contrasts with no risk, no increased risk, or a slightly reduced risk with the marijuana smokers. THC actually has an anti-tumoral effect. And these are studies that were done both in experimental animals and in cell culture systems, and for different kinds of cancer. For lung cancer, breast cancer, thyroid cancer, prostate cancer, gliomas, brain cancer, that the development and growth, or the growth actually of the tumor is suppressed by THC, and metastases are also suppressed. So how can that be? Well, THC impairs protein synthesis, and it's what we call anti-mitogenic or anti-proliferative. You need, so tumor cells don't as readily proliferate in the presence of THC. They're also anti-angiogenic, so they interfere with the growth and development of new blood vessels that are necessary for metastatic spread. And they also are pro-apoptotic. What is apoptosis? Apoptosis is programmed cell death. So when cells age, there is a mechanism whereby the cells die. It's a non-necrotic death. They die off the old cells and we get rid of them before they have an opportunity to develop mutations that would lead to cancer. So enhancing apoptosis diminishes the risk of the cells becoming cancerous. So marijuana THC turns out to be pro-apoptotic. So those appear to be the mechanisms that might account for these anti-tumoral effects of THC. we decided to do our own case control study. Funding from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, which is a major funding agency for marijuana-related research. This was the largest study ever conducted on this subject. It was very well designed. We used the Los Angeles Tumor Registry to identify, rapidly ascertain all the cases of lung cancer and head and neck cancer that were diagnosed in the LA County system. And of course, by the time we got to some of them, they'd already died or were too sick. But we got to it, over 60% of them who agreed to participate and were able to participate. And we administered this questionnaire. And then we matched them to controls, the same age, socioeconomic status, that lived in the same neighborhood, using an algorithm that USC developed for this purpose, so that we could match, we're comparing apples with apples. And then we administered this detailed questionnaire, the food frequency questions, occupational history, all kinds of things. We also did molecular, we got a buccal smear so we could look at the DNA, we look at the genetics of lung cancer. So what we did was to recruit smokers, heavy smokers of marijuana, at least a joint a day for a week, and it ended up that the average smoker of marijuana whom we recruited smoked 3 joints a day for about 15 years. And that's also required that they smoke that much for 5 years. But on the average, they smoked 3 joints for 15 years. So that's about 45 to 50 joint years. A joint year is the number of joints smoked times the number of years smoked. Over the study population was, I think, between 35 and 59. I think 35 was a younger age group. Of course, we thought that they had to be teenagers in their early 20s at the time of at least in the marijuana epidemic, which was in the mid-60s. So prior to that time, very few people used marijuana, but after that time, it just mushroomed up to 1979, which represented actually the apex, the acme of use of marijuana in our society. So that's why we chose those age limits. And so what do we find? For any category of cannabis use, including heavy use we define as more than 10 joint years, but we looked at 20 joint years and 30 joint years. For every category of marijuana use, the ratio was less than 1, meaning reduced risk. It wasn't significantly reduced, but it was reduced. With the confidence intervals were not that wide around the point estimate. So there was no evidence, and we controlled for all the known or putative factors, for socioeconomic status, concomitant, tobacco smoking, alcohol, etc. At the same time, when we did a similar analysis for the tobacco smokers, there was a huge effect of tobacco.
Gee, we ought to do something, Fred. Okay. How's about taking a nap? Hey, I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break.
That's it. Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got that filter blend.
Yeah, Fred. Filter blend makes the big taste difference, and only Winston has it up front where it counts. Here, ahead of the pure white filter. Winston packs rich tobaccos specially selected and specially processed for good flavor in filter smoking.
Yeah, Barney, Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should.
So I'm a cancer doctor, and every day I see patients with cancer who have nausea from their chemotherapy or their cancer, loss of appetite, pain, depression, insomnia. And my experience over the past 30 years of being an oncologist is that there's one medicine that I could recommend to patients that can take care of all of those problems. Instead of writing 5 different prescription drugs, all of which have side effects and addictive potential, I can tell my cancer patients to try marijuana to take care of any combination of those symptoms. The first study that I really wanted to do was in patients with the so-called AIDS wasting syndrome, which was something we saw before the availability of active antiretroviral drugs, and patients with HIV infection just wasted away. They lost weight, they got diarrhea and fevers, And dronabinol, delta-9 THC, became available to help those patients increase their appetite. When we prescribed those patients dronabinol in the early 90s, they said, you know, this is okay, but I really prefer to smoke real cannabis, because when you take cannabis by mouth, either as delta-9 THC or eating, in fact, baked products, the absorption is very slow and variable. So it takes about 2.5 hours for a peak to be reached, and the peak level in the blood is quite low, and then it stays in the body for quite a long time as well. Also, when taken by mouth, the delta-9 THC becomes converted by the liver to another psychoactive metabolite. So people that take dronabinol or eat cannabis baked products often get more zonk than people who smoke, because when you smoke, you don't get that second metabolite. Also, when you smoke, you get a very rapid peak in the blood in 2.5 minutes as opposed to 2.5 hours. So people can really control the onset of the activity and how long it lasts better if they're smoking rather than swallowing either a pill or eating a baked product. So our first study that we hoped to do in the early 90s was to show that smoked cannabis was better than dronabinol in increasing appetite in patients with the AIDS wasting syndrome. I tried twice to get cannabis from the government, because they're the only legal source of marijuana for clinical trials. And both times I failed. I then went to Alan Leshner, who at the time was the head of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and he explained to me, in fact, that the government, NIDA, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, has a congressional mandate only to study substances of abuse as substances of abuse. So my request to have marijuana to study it as a potential therapeutic agent could never be granted by the government, because, again, Congress says you can only study these substances as substances of abuse and not as treatments for disease. So in 1996, the terrain changed when we got HIV drugs that actually worked, and we didn't see the wasting syndrome anymore. But these drugs were broken down by the liver by the same pathway that metabolizes some illicit substances. And there was a report in the literature of a patient dying from an ecstasy overdose who was on one of the AIDS antiviral drugs who took ecstasy at the same time. So I said, a little light bulb went off. I said, maybe I should study to see if it's safe for patients on the AIDS antiretroviral drugs to smoke cannabis. And so I submitted that grant to the government, and that worked within their schema because I was looking to see if it was harmful. And with that application, I finally succeeded and got $1 million and 1,400 government cigarettes to study in patients with HIV. Now, these patients didn't have the wasting syndrome anymore, but the endpoint of our study was, is there a change in the amount of AIDS virus in the bloodstream after 21 days of exposure to either 3 government cigarettes a day or 3 dronabinol capsules or 3 placebo capsules? And so we looked at the change in the HIV virus, and it didn't change at all. We also looked at the interaction between the cannabinoids, either smoked or oral, and the amount of AIDS drug in the bloodstream, and that didn't change clinically significantly either. We also knew that people were concerned that marijuana might have an impact on the immune system that could be negative, and we looked at that very carefully in these HIV patients, and we found no evidence of any negative effect, and perhaps some evidence of benefit in the immune system in patients smoking even more than taking the capsules. In my opinion, the whole plant is the medicine that nature provided, and it's the best medicine.
It's truly amazing the number of conditions that respond favorably to cannabis. The number one condition is pain. Cannabis is useful in relieving people's pain. It's particularly effective in relieving pain from connective tissue disorders, from arthritis, from fibromyalgia, from systemic lupus, from reflex sympathetic dystrophy, a whole host of conditions that we don't really understand very well, people seem to get good relief from cannabis. People are able to decrease the amount of opiates that they're taking, and in some instances to stop taking opiates entirely for pain control. The first modern research that was done on cannabis was done in 1949 that demonstrated its usefulness in treating epilepsy. I have a number of people who don't have epilepsy when they use cannabis regularly. The founder of modern medicine is a physician named Sir William Osler, who was prominent around the turn of the 19th to the 20th century. He wrote the first textbook of internal medicine, and in that textbook he said that cannabis was the most effective medication for the treatment of migraine headaches. And I certainly have a number of people with migraines who get substantial relief or even prevention of their migraines by consumption of cannabis. Other conditions that commonly respond favorably to marijuana include depression. It helps people with sleep. It helps their appetite. It's also very good in treating GI symptoms, nausea, diarrhea. It's excellent for treating Crohn's disease. We did a little study of people with Crohn's disease and found that many of them were able to stop using steroids and stop using other medications that they had taken for their Crohn's, that they had less diarrhea, they had less abdominal pain. It was a true miracle for them. There's a list here of conditions that was originally developed by Dr. Todd McArea, who was a pioneer in terms of medical marijuana. He actually worked for the National Institute of Mental Health, and his job was to give out grants for doing studies on cannabis. He thought he was there to find out how cannabis was useful to treat medical conditions. NIMH thought he was there to hand out grants to see how dangerous it was. This was a marriage made in hell, and he did not stay with the National Institute of Mental Health for very long. Cannabis is seen as a neuroprotective agent, and we have found that it has provided benefits for people with multiple sclerosis. It certainly treats their neuropathic pain and their muscle spasm, but more importantly, people who were placed on Sativex, the tincture of cannabis, in early studies in Great Britain have remained on it for years and years. And rather than progress, their multiple sclerosis has stayed the same, suggesting that cannabis may not only be effective in reducing the symptoms, but also in slowing the progression of disease. It's helpful in dealing with the anxiety of people that have Alzheimer's disease. It's helpful in dealing with the muscle spasms that are associated with Parkinson's disease. When it comes to psychological illnesses, cannabis is useful in not only treating depression, which I already mentioned, but also bipolar disorder, which is depression and mania. It's useful in treating attention deficit disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. There was a study done at the Max Planck Institute in Germany a few years back that demonstrated it was useful in reducing fearful memories, so that might suggest why it is useful in alleviating PTSD. This is extremely important at this time when we have so many people who are serving multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Pentagon has projected that at least a third of these people, and I think that that is a very conservative estimate, will come back with the symptoms of PTSD. As a matter of fact, in regards to PTSD, both the Israeli government and the Croatian government have given their troops cannabis for treatment of PTSD. The list just goes on and on. Many conditions cause pain, serious conditions. Ankylosing spondylitis, which can actually turn you over, make you bend over in a crippled position. People who have failed back surgery. People who have herniated discs. People who have chronic dislocated shoulders. All of these people get relief from cannabis, and they find that the cannabis provides that relief with fewer side effects than the opiates do. Another thing that is sort of counterintuitive where cannabis is useful is in the treatment of asthma. You may have seen the ads for Advair that say it's both a bronchodilator and an anti-inflammatory. Well, so too is cannabis. This is why there were numerous marijuana cigarettes on the market in the 1920s for the treatment of asthma, specifically for the treatment of asthma. So, as I pointed out by holding up this list, the list of conditions for which cannabis is useful is extremely lengthy. That's a quick overview of some of the conditions that cannabis is useful in treating. Most people tend to take cannabis at least in the evening. Some people take it more often than that. And the reason is that many of these conditions interfere with sleep, and then there are some people who just have sleep problems, have insomnia difficulty, and cannabis is very useful in assisting people in going to sleep. Now, if they have difficulty staying asleep, in addition to smoking or vaporizing or using it sublingually, they should also use it as an edible or drink it, because it will kick in 45 minutes into their sleep, and it will be effective for about 5 to 6 hours. There are a number of different ways of administering cannabis, of getting it into the body. Smoking and vaporizing cause the chemicals to get into the body upstream of the liver. So you have unmetabolized cannabinoids that are going to the brain. Now, this doesn't mean that when the cannabinoids go through the liver that they are inactivated, but it means that they're different. 85% of the cannabinoid is metabolized on its first pass through the liver. The other thing is that when it goes to the brain immediately by the respiratory route of administration, the effect will be in 15 to 30 seconds. Whereas if we wait for it to go through the GI tract and through the liver, it will take 45 minutes before it's effective. Now, each one of those routes of administration is going to give you a slightly different mix of chemicals, because when you smoke it, you are oxygenating the cannabinoids and the other chemicals that are in there. So while you may be vaporizing the cannabinoids that are immediately behind where the flame is, you're also burning the cannabinoids that are right at the junction there. So that smoked marijuana is not identical to vaporized marijuana. With the vaporized marijuana, all of the volatile oils will be volatilized by the time you get to 340 degrees centigrade. And you will have removed or be exposed to about 70% fewer irritants than when you smoke it. It also has a somewhat different odor. It doesn't have the characteristic classic burnt rope odor, but it has more of a nutty odor. Now, when you eat marijuana, you're going to have metabolized 85% of the cannabinoids. People who eat it talk about having a body high as opposed to a mind high, and that is because you're being exposed to a different combination of cannabinoids. Now, some people have found that an under-the-tongue spray, which is what Sativex is. Sativex is an alcohol extract of the whole plant, which combines extracts from two plants, one that's high in THC for its therapeutic value, and the other that's high in CBD to keep down the euphoria, its anti-euphoria effect. And when you spray it under the tongue, it will be effective in about 15 minutes, but it will go to the brain first before going through the liver. On the other hand, there are many people in Canada where Sativex is legal that find that they still prefer cannabis to Sativex. Now, Sativex is prescribed in Canada, and it appears as though the British government and or the Spanish government may also approve Sativex in the near future for sale as a pharmaceutical in their country. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration found that Sativex, basically liquid marijuana, was safe enough to be tested on Americans, and they approved a phase 3 clinical study. Phase 3 just means with human beings, in December of 2005 to determine whether or not this under-the-tongue tincture spray was useful in relieving intractable pain in people with cancer. This study did not get started until 2007 and is still ongoing. There have been numerous studies with cannabis and tincture of cannabis and pain that have shown that it is useful in relieving pain. Now, we've talked about under the tongue, we've talked about smoking, we've talked about vaporization. There's also the synthetic delta-9 THC can be taken orally, just like edibles can be taken. And the main problem with edibles is that it's hard to tell whether you're going to get a dose that is going to just deal with the therapeutic needs that you have, whether it's going to give you euphoria or whether it's going to give you dysphoria. And you need to have a regular supply so that you can be fairly certain that you're going to take an amount that will be the therapeutic dose and not an amount that will give you dysphoria as a side effect. Lastly, the curanderos, who are lay healers in southern Mexico and Central America, have used tincture of cannabis as part of their therapeutic armamentarium for at least 200 years. The topical application of tincture of cannabis is useful, particularly on the small joints, the fingers and toes, in dealing with pain associated with arthritis. And the reason for this is that cannabis is both an analgesic, a painkiller, and an anti-inflammatory. And we know this not only from the anecdotal evidence that we have, but also from thousands of studies that have been done around the world mainly with animals and sometimes in tissue culture. The International Cannabinoid Research Society has been around for about 20 years, and they have conferences each year that last for 3 days in which researchers from all over the world talk about the results that they have gotten doing basic science studies. With any drug that a doctor is considering recommending or prescribing, they need to balance off the therapeutic effects with the side effects. When you talk about the treatment of pain, for many people, the opiates are very effective painkillers. But for some people, the opiates cause confusion. They make it difficult for them to concentrate, difficult for them to drive. They don't enjoy playing with their kids or their grandkids. It causes them constipation. With cannabis, for many of those people, they find that it certainly does not give them constipation and does not cause them confusion, provides them with sufficient relief from their pain that they can go about their activities of daily living, they can drive their car without interference, and more importantly, they can have fun. They can play with their children, they can play with their grandchildren. So I wouldn't necessarily say that across the board cannabis is to be used instead of opiates, but I would say that for many people it can be used instead of opiates, and for others it can be used in conjunction with opiates, and they can use a lower dose of the opiates and hopefully have fewer side effects. Now, any therapeutic agent that we know of has some side effects, and marijuana is no exception. The main side effect to the use of marijuana is from smoking it, and that's cough. So that can be completely avoided by eating it or drinking it, and it can be largely avoided by vaporizing. One of the things that's talked about a lot is that you can have a panic reaction, and that is certainly possible. It most commonly occurs in people who are novice users, particularly if they've been exposed to a plant that is very high in THC. Another thing that people sometimes have is paranoid thinking that the police are after them. I've noticed that this is not nearly as common since it's become legal, because the police aren't after them. And so it may not be paranoia that people were experiencing, but an exaggerated perception of reality. And one of the things that we've lost as a result of the propaganda and misinformation that has been spread about cannabis is the fact that it has legitimate therapeutic value, and we have discouraged research. We have dramatically discouraged research in this country, and numerous other countries, including England, Israel, Spain, and Germany, are far ahead of us in terms of the quantity of research that they're doing on the medicinal value of cannabis. And this is particularly alarming in these economic times, when we certainly could use the economic stimulus, the economic boost that would come from having pharmaceutical cannabis available in this country as it is now in Canada and as it possibly soon will be in England and Spain. Jefferson said that this country would be in dire straits if we had laws that interfered with what we put into our own bodies. Are we not in control of our own bodies?
Marijuana is a medicine that patients themselves can grow. For people with cancer who may be thinking about the end of their life, to be able to grow a plant and work in the garden and produce their own medicine is very empowering and something that, I think does the patient a lot of good.
Marijuana is illegal and the government doesn't sponsor this kind of research. Now, in view of the fact that large numbers of people are using marijuana medicinally, I think it's a shame that there is no investment in this kind of research.
I think there's a very bright future for medical cannabis in this country. I grew up around drugs, but to me, drugs are a good thing. I walked into a building or went into a building every day almost of my first 18 years. That had a 13-foot tall sign that said drugs. My father was a pharmacist, and we sold medication. And as far as I'm concerned, medication is helpful for people. I don't think that medication has a personality. It sits on the shelf until you prescribe it for somebody. It has beneficial uses and has side effects, and it should only be used when necessary.
Wow, man, I'm telling you, that was quite informative, man, and quite educational, and telling you what, man, now you understand a little bit of why I feel that cannabis should be legalized and should have never been criminalized in the first place. But anyways, I got a couple more stories, but we're going to take a break for right now. We're going to listen to some music. Got some new artist submission from the Invincible Grins coming up. The Signs, Sons of Blackwater. So, we're going to go ahead and listen to some Invincible Grins in the beginning. Once we get to that part, because of course I got to pay some bills here. But guys, this is 710 Radio. I'm on 22.9 Denver, Colorado, and we will be right back.
Take this moment and grow big like a pro. LMW Agency presents Limpic Newts. That's Limpic Newts, all-in-one organic nutrient. You can grow big like a pro, from beginner to a pro. It is the most affordable nutrient to hit the streets, with the most power to its punch. It has definitely got an X cup win under its belt. It is definitely highly in demand in Colorado. You can get your own Olympic Veg, Olympic Bloom, and Olympic Bloom Blaster. Oh my God. Growing big ain't easy, but now it is. We have changed the game. You can go to Canna-Olympics.com and you can find out more about Olympic Newts. That's Olympic Newts, all in one organic nutrient. Oh, it's the best pack of the power for the bunch. You can grow big like a pro. Olympic Newts.
What's up, my 710 radio listeners? Rick Wainwright here, and I want to tell you guys about a church that I am a member of and support fully. They're called Green Faith Ministries, NAC, and they are the nation's first and only state and federally approved non-denominational cannabis church. They've been serving the community with cannabis-friendly church services, educational events, and outreach programs. We only grow with your support, and our services are fully funded through donations from patients, patrons, and community supporters like yourself. Green Faith Ministries is a branch of the Native American Church and is a religious charity organization. So I ask you to please support our work with a tax-deductible donation today at www.greenfaithministries.com. Because your faith with Green Faith Ministries is a match designed by the Creator.
TH Custom Promotions. That's right, TH Custom Promotions. Your promotional product headquarters. It's the home of the Brandon Man. Quality custom products you can't find anywhere else. I'm talking about you can get wonderful trays. You can get papers with your name on them. You can get 3-piece grinders, t-shirts and sweatshirts, apothecary jars, disposable lighters, caps and headwear. And you can get this all with the Brandon Man at TH Custom Promos. That's TH Custom Promos. And you can find them at thcustompromos.com. That's thcustompromos.com. And tell them Can Olympics sent you. I'm different.
I just graduated from Cannabis University.
Ooh, a university man.
I learned all about the law.
Oh, you bad boy.
And I learned how to grow my own medicine all in one day.
All day?
I learned other things too.
Cannabis University, teach me.
Call 303-886-7998 or go to CannabisUniversityInc.com.
Hey,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Slowly you step through here, waltzing around. Do you see yourself? Do you? Your voice makes my ears ring. It's piercing the drums, tingling. And how dare you? Who are you? You jumped all the hurdles, laced all the girdles, ran naked out the guards. Who are you? Who the hell are you? How'd you ever make it out of this thing? Heard hell was just for your type of thing. And now you make money, money as a mine. You dirty dog, you lucky duck. I'm glad you learned. Shut the fuck up. You dirty dog, you lucky duck, I'm glad you learned. Shut the fuck up.
Children crying, saying, can you hear that sound? How the dead they're rising, rising. Can't you see what I mean? Acting kind of strange. I'm kind of strange. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. Oh, bless me, Father, for the trouble I'm in. Bless me, Father, won't you let me win? Oh, bless me, Father, won't you let me dream? Please save your sweet concern, I said. Please save your souls now. Please save your sympathy, I said. I'd rather burn, I said, I'd rather. Can't you see what I mean? Acting kind of strange. I'm kind of strange. Can you hear that sound of the tempo falling? Can you hear that sound of that false God calling, calling? Can't you see what I mean? Acting kind of strange. I'm kind of strange. Please save your sweet soul. Please save your souls now. Please save your sympathy. I said, I'd rather burn. I said, I'd rather burn. Yeah. Rather burn, yeah, 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 now. Rather burn, yeah. Rather burn, yeah, 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 now.
Thank you. A bit of acoustic rock for you. We gotta bring things down a little bit now.
Keep it real. Got me facing the felony for a minute. They had me shook. Which way do I turn? Which way do I look? Then I open up the good book for my first real look, some of which applies. People been telling me lies. Chapter, verse, I'm hooked. Look what it took. I realized and I cried. Cathartic and overdue. Each word is written. Each word is true. False interpretations, I ain't no different than you. I heard it, done it, mean it, this, that, and the third. Except live a little cleaner. See, the problem is people's perceptions are in part. They get dressed in the light but live their life in the dark. Clothes gotta be tight, shoes gotta be bright, but what you don't see is the insecurity. They ain't perfect, cause they ain't perfect. You know that friend, Gucci, Prada and Tim, so butter, a head full of clutter. Even though the polo man is clear, they consistently tell you they wear polo every day of the year. I wonder. Life is hard sometimes, and sometimes you gotta stand back and get your plan back. Focus. Long as you breathing, it ain't hopeless. But if all you want is jam-packed, knee-slap rap, then please step back and let me focus. Politely with my posse, part the crowd like Rocky. They getting louder and louder. I ain't no carbon copy. Raining on you like a shower. You speaking what if you got? I ask what you give. They talk so hot, I tell you how life is. Same story, different plot. They asking what if you die? I ask what if not? See, the problem is people's perceptions are in part. They get dressed in the light, but live their life in the dark. Clothes gotta be tight, shoes gotta be right, but what you don't see is insecurity. Cause they ain't perfect. Cause they ain't perfect. You know that friend, Gucci, Prada and Tim, so butter, but head full of clutter. Cause they exist to spin. And even though the polo man is clear, they consistently tell you they wear polo every day of the year. I wonder.
temptation came, I said, wandering again. Turning heads up, heart of stone was making love to him. Innuendo, time consuming, saying words don't mean a thing. Communication breaking down, I said she was wearing rather thin. Shades of grey taking you away. Shades of grey now. Shades of grey taking you away. Shades of grey now. Pulling down the blind, yeah, you drawing the curtain. You'd rather walk away, feeling uncertain. She does to you what she did to him. She's hurting you again. I said, she does to you what she did to him. She's hurting you again with a shade of grey taking you away. Shades of grey now. Shades of grey taking you away. Shades of grey now. Stepping into temptation came, I said, wandering again. Turning heads up, heart of stone making love to him. Innuendo, time consuming, saying words don't mean a thing. Communication breaking down, I said she was wearing rather thin. Shades of grey taking you away. Shades of grey now. Shades of grey taking you away. Shades of grey now. 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 Shades of grey now.
Right on. We're back. 710 Radio Month, 22.9 Denver, Colorado. Alright, guys. Man, let me tell you what. It's on its way. Legalization is on its way. So, you know, I mean, besides here in the United States, where legalization is on the way, you know, where are some other places that, you know, in the world that are legal? You know, where can you legally smoke cannabis in the world? Well, according to Newsbeat, website is www.bbc.co.uk. This is a, I can tell by the way they, alright, so the government says, you gotta understand this is BBC here, so it's the government says the policy will not change following a Home Office report which found tough laws do not appear to cut abuse. I'm gonna go ahead and, so where can you smoke? Colombia. Small amounts of up to 22 grams are okay for personal consumption. However, selling it remains illegal. You are allowed to grow up to 20 plants for personal use. Wow, right on, Colombia. Costa Rica. it is a bit of a gray area. Cannabis is illegal there, but there's widespread smoking throughout the country. Police officers do not arrest people carrying enough for personal consumption, yet no amount has been outlined as a minimum for possession. Very interesting. The Czech Republic. Possession of up to 15 grams for personal use or growing up to 5 plants is a police caution. Interesting word. Okay. I guess that's on their discretion. I wonder if that's that word. Okay, but anyways, medical use of the drug on the prescription has been legal since April of 2013. Ecuador, having a small stash under 10 grams for personal use is legal. Jamaica, growing, selling, and using cannabis is illegal. However, the government passed a motion in 2013 to decriminalize the drug if a person was found with a small amount. The Netherlands. Cannabis products are only sold in coffee shops, and possession up to 5 grams for personal use is okay. Other types of sales and transportation are illegal. Okay, Norway. In Norway, there is a sliding scale approach to cannabis possession. Less than 15 grams is considered for personal use, and can see you find between 1,500 and 15,000 kroner, which comes out to 140 lira to 1,500 lira. Okay, carrying more is considered dealing and punished much more harshly, including jail. Peru. Possession of under 8 grams is considered legal for personal use. Portugal. Good old Portugal. Alright, it became the first country in the world in 2001 to legalize the use of all drugs. And it started treating drug users as sick people instead of criminals. My goodness, what a concept. I mean, the way that it should be. Oh my, man, I love Portugal. However, you can be arrested or made to go into rehab if caught several times in possession. Now, I think that's fair. I mean, whatever. You know, I mean, look. Or made to go into rehab. You can be arrested or made to go into rehab. You know, I'm telling you, it's a mental health problem or a health issue, not a criminal issue. Okay, now, what are the police supposed to do? You know, I mean, if, you know, you can't stop doing whatever you're doing that keeps you getting busted by them. Okay, they got to be able to do something. What is it? I don't know. I mean, so for me, I guess that's fair. All right, Romania. The next one on the list. Medical use is legal under certain conditions. I wonder what those certain conditions, because it doesn't say in here. Spain. Okay, growing the plant on private property for personal use and consumption by adults in a private space is legal. But buying or selling any quantity of cannabis is a criminal offense. Possession and consumption in a public place is illegal and punishable by a fine. Okay. That's cool. Alright, Switzerland. Growing up to 4 plants is legal, but sale or transport is illegal. Uruguay. the newest member to the legalization of marijuana, and I applaud Uruguay. I actually had the honor of going on a Uruguayan news channel once, so props to them. Okay, Uruguay. A law has been passed legalizing cannabis, but won't come into effect until 2015. The new law says buyers must be 18 or older, residents of Uruguay, and must register with the authorities. Authorities will grow the cannabis that can be sold legal. Now, okay, they go by the Uruguayan peso. Now you'll hear stories about how pot down there in Uruguay is $1 a gram. Now $1 American dollar. Okay, but you got to understand, down there in Uruguay, they do not. Their currency is not the American dollar. They go by the Uruguayan peso, and now I'm trying to go off my head's data bank here. But if you go do a currency converter, $1 actually is $22 and some odd cents in Uruguayan peso that they have to actually pay for a gram of weed. So it's like $22 a gram. Alright, so USA, Colorado, and Washington State have legalized marijuana for recreational use, while some other states permit medical marijuana. Now let me tell you, it's coming, guys. Man, full legalization is coming. Let me see. These states have got to get on board, man. I mean, on up with the times here, because I'm gonna go real quick. There's a article at www.collective-evolution.com, and it is titled 7 Ways Marijuana Legalization Has Already Benefited Colorado in Only 8 Months. Okay, now this was September 13th, 2014 by Jeff Roberts. Alright, so we've talked. January 1st, 2014 saw the opening of the very first cannabis shop in Colorado as cultivation, manufacture, and sale of the controversial plant became fully legalized. Since then, the state has seen a lot of promising results. Let me see. I'm going to chop down. Okay, Colorado's proving to be a great example of how cannabis legalization can benefit the economy. Although it is still a bit early to make any definitive extrapolations about cannabis legalization, there's a few emerging trends in Colorado that signal good signs for the state, which drugpolicy.org has listed on their website. Okay, so according to Uniform Crime Reporting data for Denver, there has been a 10.1 decrease in overall crime from this time last year, and a 5.2 drop in violent crime. And actually, I think that number is actually up to 8.4 now %. Okay, so the state has also garnered over $10 million in taxes from retail sales in the first 4 months. Last year, it was $63 million. Now, the first $40 million of the tax revenue is earmarked for public schools and infrastructure, as well as for youth educational campaigns and substance use. Now, number 3, there's a renewed efforts to study the medical efficacy of marijuana within the state, making Colorado the epicenter for marijuana research. And honestly, there's already been several grants given out in Colorado for the study of marijuana. And I know the CSU, Colorado State University, was one of them that got it. The marijuana industry has developed quickly, generating thousands of new jobs. It is estimated that there are currently about 10,000 people directly involved with this industry, with 1,000 to 2,000 gaining employment in the past few months alone. Actually, I think that number now is somewhere around 21,000, or, man, I may be very conservative on that number. Okay, let me see, number 5, Colorado, John Hickenlooper, who opposed Amendment 64, recently compared Colorado's economy since legalization of that of other states by noting, while the rest of the country's economy is slowly picking back up, we are thriving here in Colorado. For example, the demand for commercial real estate has increased drastically, with houses in the state appreciating up to 8.7% in the past year alone. Number 6, the voters of Colorado retain an overall positive view on the regulated marijuana market, with 54% of Colorado voters supporting marijuana legalization and regularization, according to a Quinnipiac poll. And the last one here that I really wanted to make a point on was by removing criminal penalties for certain marijuana-related offenses, thousands of individuals will avoid collateral consequences associated with a criminal record. The state is estimated to potentially save $12 to $40 million over the span of a year simply by ending the arrest for marijuana possession. And if you do the math on that, and if you take that just at the $12 million at the bare minimum that they just said there, that's sick. Okay, so before I say that, okay, $12 million, and if we did that for every state in the intercontinental United States, so 52, right? Here, so that would be 52 times 12 million. We're talking $624 million and that's on the very low conservative side, that the United States can start saving money just for that issue right there. Isn't there 52? Alaska and Hawaii, and or is that 48 and 50? Yeah, there might be. I might be thinking, like, you know, we got what, Puerto Rico, I don't know, we got whatever. My daughter's over here correcting me everywhere. So but anyways, now back to that you know, where in the world can you smoke? I left the last one alone because I have a story that I want you guys to listen to. But the last one, where in the world can you smoke? Okay, we had Uruguay was the last one, USA, and this last one is Israel. Israel is really jumped in the forefront of medical marijuana, and has taken the lead in research and development, and man, I'm telling you, these are some smart mother homers over there. And this next story that, you know, I'm just going to let this next story tell you, man. So once it's done, I will be back.
Welcome to Insight Magazine. Cannabis, often prohibited, sometimes tolerated, not yet legalized. Well, this plant is considered highly controversial. However, its therapeutic properties have now been revealed, and it's considered medically beneficial. In Israel, researchers, pioneering physicians, and committed patients have led a revolution. And within 10 years, the number of patients treated with cannabis skyrocketed from 200 to 14,000, a world record in the field. The spectrum of conditions treated by this plant keeps widening. Well, Israel's working to meet the growing demand, but many patients still consider the government's actions insufficient. Well, here's Cannabis, a Medical Revolution by Eitan Haddock. This morning, Misha, a 71-year-old retired truck driver, came with his son for an unusual medical examination at the Tikkun Olam Institute in Tel Aviv following a complicated surgery.
I had a massive cervical spine surgery. I can't feel my head. I feel a weakness and pins and needles in my shoulders and my hands. I feel strong pains.
I saw the treatment he received, and we know it didn't bring any improvement. So to begin with, I chose strong strains.
Inbal Sikorin is a nurse licensed by the Ministry of Health to lead these sessions to initiate new patients to use cannabis.
The first cigarette will be enough for 2-3 days, okay? The substance is inside. It's a shortened cigarette for this initiation. We'll smoke short puffs. Good luck. Slowly, wait. Okay, that's it. Slowly and release. How's the taste? That's it. No more than 2 puffs, so you don't feel sick. How's your head?
It's going up.
In 1 month from now, I want it here. That's the goal.
Thank you very much, really. I feel like I forgot the pain. I feel inside my body my happiness and also less pain. Just look.
Misha is directed to the Tikkun Olam pharmacy in Tel Aviv, the only one in Israel outside the hospitals that's allowed to distribute cannabis. In total, 450 kilos are provided each month to the country's 14,000 prescribed patients. Misha leaves with 20 grams, enough for 1 month. Cannabis, often prohibited, sometimes tolerated, yet never legalized. This plant, considered a hazardous drug, is highly controversial. However, in recent years, its therapeutic properties have been revealed. Could cannabis consumption be medically beneficial? In Israel, researchers and pioneering physicians, therapists, and committed patients have recently led a revolution. Within 10 years, the number of patients treated with cannabis rocketed from 200 to 14,000, a world record. Pain, cancer, inflammatory or neurological diseases, the spectrum of conditions treated by this plant keeps widening. Greenhouses, specific strains, specialized pharmacies, adapted treatments. Israel has set up an institutionalized policy in order to meet the increasingly growing demand, although many patients consider the government's actions insufficient. In his laboratory at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, 81-year-old Professor Raphael Meshulam studies the plant relentlessly. He's a world expert in his field and the first scientist to isolate and synthesize THC, the plant's primary active ingredient, in 1964. Convinced of its therapeutic properties, he's also the first one to have encouraged physicians to prescribe it.
As scientists, we've conducted an experiment 40 or 50 years ago. We took the THC. Half of the subjects consumed it in a cake my wife baked. We put it in 10 milligrams. The other half had some cake without those 10 milligrams. After a while, we saw the effect on everybody. Somebody told us it hadn't had any effect on him, for from time to time he burst out laughing. Some others, like my wife, sat on the couch and said, "So beautiful, it's a different world." One of them couldn't stop talking. He was a member of the Knesset, so he kept talking. The same amount for different people has a different effect.
In a state-of-the-art lab, each active ingredient in the plant is extracted and its medical properties are studied. But do such therapeutic properties justify legalization?
We must pursue the research on medical cannabis so we can develop treatments in many fields. Medical cannabis is a highly beneficial product, and it must be legalized. In Israel, we're very liberal. Approximately 14,000 people have received an authorization to use cannabis. It depends which kind of cannabis, for specific diseases, not for every disease. pain, pain from cancer, side effects of the cancer treatment, gastrointestinal diseases, that kind of thing.
למחלות גסטרואינטסטינליות, לדברים מן הסוג הזה.
When I was taught by Professor Meshulam about the potential of cannabis, I understood this plant is actually a gift from God. It's nature's medicine factory.
Professor Reuven Or is the head of the bone marrow transplant department at Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem. For 10 years, he's successfully administered cannabis to his patients. He claims this plant offers many advantages.
We were the first ones in the world to give cannabis to patients who had bone marrow transplant. One of the most amazing things about medical cannabis is that the addiction level is extremely low. Extremely low.
Cannabis has been proven to be efficient in the treatment of neurological diseases where traditional medications are limited. Tom Kirsch from Kibbutz Gat suffers from Tourette's syndrome since the age of 6. Cannabis has changed his life.
That's how it looks like when I'm untreated, unbalanced, and that's a relatively normal state. I started the treatment when I was about halfway through my military service. I got released then. That means I served only 1 year and a half. During the hospitalizations, they tried to give me all kinds of medications. That one gave me, how do they call it? Parkinsonism. It means that the tics stopped, but I had Parkinson's-like tremors instead. It took me a long time to get an authorization. It wasn't easy, but when I finally got it, it was magical, as you're about to see.
In recent years, cannabis also turned out to be effective for extreme cases of epilepsy and Parkinson's disease, with spectacular results, further shaking up the convictions surrounding traditional medicine.
And you inhale. Within a few minutes, it will be really... You'll see. Everything will disappear. Yes, now the tics are... You can actually see. It will stop. Yes, that's how it works. Like a magic trick.
The effects only last a few hours. And although cannabis doesn't cure the condition, it makes it bearable.
We made our first steps 10 years ago, and then we started to realize there is a therapeutic potential for children as well. And that's amazing.
How are you? That's Liav, and that's Elon. Elon is in 1st grade, and Liav is in 3rd grade.
Liav, just 8 years old, had a brain tumor 2 years ago and is now in remission.
That was on his birthday. It was just on. When? There's the date. August 28th.
An aggressive chemotherapy suppressed his appetite. His powerless parents could only watch as their child lost a third of his body weight. His appetite only returned when they tried cannabis, and it even alleviated the unbearable pain. Today, Liav is seen by Eti, the nurse who guides him in his cannabis treatment.
The Minister of Health says, "We're not proud of it. We don't want to become a medical cannabis superpower. It's not such a pride. But manufacturing guns and tanks and all kinds of explosives that kill people, that does make the state of Israel proud. But it can't be proud of medical cannabis. It's something that saves and helps millions of people around the world. That's how absurd it is."
A child with cancer who has an outbreak, that's an excruciating pain. Nothing except the candy he took helped.
For children, the cannabis is consumed in the edible form, often as candy.
Are you giving it to me?
Yes, do you want it?
Yes.
Here you go. That's tasty. It's not bad.
Until now, Liav hadn't eaten all day.
Here, look. The proof in life. I'm happy to see like that. He hasn't eaten since this morning. Look, 10 minutes after taking the cannabis, look how hungry he is. It's unbelievable.
On the one hand, it's a dietary supplement created by God. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, no pharmaceutical company can patent it.
3 weeks after he began his treatment, we meet Misha at his home. But apparently there's a problem.
How are you? How do you feel?
I don't feel well. I'm in pain, such pain. I'm getting very nervous. I don't know what to do.
In only 10 days, Misha consumed his monthly prescription of cannabis. Deprived of its benefits, his pain torments him once again.
Hello?
Hopeless, Misha calls his nurse Inbal and tries to receive an additional dose for the pain.
I've finished it all. I've been feeling well for 10 days.
For the moment, you're allowed to get 20 grams. I'm asking you to divide them so there's enough for the whole month. That means every few hours, you take a few puffs and put the cigarette down.
Thank you, thank you. She can't do anything. Only the doctor can.
Of course, when it started to expand, the regulators tried to find some ways to supervise it more and how to institutionalize it in an efficient way. That's not easy, I agree. That's not easy at all. I think Israel can set the example as a pioneer, and also for how to organize it. I'd expect from Western Europe, of course, but more generally from European countries and from the US to adopt this model.
Joined in the studio by Eitan Hadak. Eitan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hello, David.
And thank you for bringing us this eye-opening piece here. Let me start by taking a look at Liav's father in the story. He seems angry. Why is he so frustrated? And what role, if any, do the large pharmaceutical companies play for this?
Yeah, frustration is the word, actually. Well, he's angry at the system, actually, because what he says is that it took so long for him to get the authorization. He thinks that the system doesn't go far enough in terms of authorization. We've seen Misha at the end of the report saying that his quantity is not enough. So he thinks that the whole process, although it works, it's still too slow for him. As for the company, the pharmaceutical company, well, some say that they might have a role in slowing the process because they are losing money, actually. His father, Yaakov, and other patient told me that they don't use their narcotics and their medicine anymore. They use the plants.
So the business isn't completely behind it yet. Well, let's talk about someone like Liav, children being treated with this medication. I know that's very controversial, very progressive for Israel, especially in the field of epilepsy. Isn't that correct?
I tell you, I just say what I quote Professor Reuven Or. This is extraordinary. To be able to treat children with cannabis is just extraordinary, not only for cancer, post-treatment of cancer, but also for epilepsy. Children with 100 crises a day, which is unbearable, go as low as 2 to 3 crises a day thanks to cannabis. We've seen Tom with the Tourette syndrome. He doesn't shake anymore.
Incredible.
And same for Parkinson's. So it works.
And now also, is this the same product that people are using recreationally, that people are also using medicinally? And is this a step towards full legalization, do you think?
Okay, first of all, the plant is the plant. This is cannabis. But the searchers, the scientists here in Israel has developed with Tikkun Olam, the center, the institute that we met there, they have developed specific species with more or less THC versus CBD, which are the active principles in the plant to treat specific...
depending on what it's for. Again, Eitan, thank you very much for bringing us the story.
Thank you very much, David.
And thank you for watching it here on Inside Magazine. Be sure to see us again next week at the same time.
right, we're back. Month 22.9, 710 radio here in Denver, Colorado. So I hope I've given you guys enough information about the wonderful benefits of medical marijuana, man. And let me tell you, I hope you're ready, because legalization is coming fast, man. I mean, states are starting to fall like dominoes. It's wonderful for me to see, and I got to tell you, man. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of our show for tonight. I'm going to leave you off with a couple of songs, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Have a great day tomorrow. Peace and one love, and we will be back tomorrow night. Peace.
Yeah, man. I just gave it to him.
Yeah, he gave his song to 710 Radio.
Hey, man, put your seatbelt on. We can't die before we blow up, nigga. We about to blow up.
One of those reasons is he submitted his song to 710 Radio at moth22.9 at gmail.com. Is 710 Radio bumping your song? No? Well, you must not have heard about the 12 million hits 710 Radio had last year, which means you haven't heard about the 2 million hits 710 Radio has had so far this year to date. And guess what? One but a handful of people have heard your song because you haven't submitted it to 710 Radio at moth22.9 at gmail.com. Did you know 710 Radio is one of the few radio stations in Colorado that only plays independents, no matter your genre? So submit your songs and get heard on 710 Radio at moth22.9 at gmail.com. It is just that simple, my friends. Submit your song and I'm going to play it on the radio for you.
Heavy is the head, hold the crown. Heavy than a motherfucker, weigh a nigga down. At least that's what I'm hearing. Money change other things, especially the building that I'm living in. In the clothes I put my children on. Money, more wise, God willing it. Keep listening. I know they about to play my song. Just go ahead and keep the radio. Us alone. Legalize and grow your own. We're not begging you to throw us a bone. We live in peace. You send up a drone. Pass the joint, pass the bomb, take a toll. Sing along. Pass the joint, pass the bomb, take a toll. Sing along. Pass the joint, pass the bomb.